If we're honest with ourselves, the most dangerous moments in human history aren't the ones where we lacked intelligence or innovation. They're the moments when we convinced ourselves that tomorrow would somehow fix what we refused to face today. There's a quiet paradox at the heart of our modern lives. We have more knowledge than any generation before us, more tools, more data, more warnings flashing red in front of our eyes, and yet we still hesitate. We still delay. We still bargain with the future as if it were an abstract concept, rather than a promise we've already made to our children. Most people overlook this, but the future doesn't arrive all at once. It doesn't announce itself with a single dramatic headline or a single catastrophic event. It arrives step by step, decision by decision, compromise by compromise. And the truth is, the future we're building right now is shaped less by what we say we believe and more by what we're willing to do when the cost becomes uncomfortable. I've learned over time that progress rarely feels heroic when you're living through it. It feels slow, it feels contested, it feels incomplete. And that's especially true when we talk about climate, not as a theory, not as a debate, but as a lived reality for millions of people whose names we may never know. Families watching the shoreline creep closer to their front doors. Farmers reading the sky the way their grandparents taught them, only to realize the old patterns no longer apply. Children growing up in a world where the question isn't whether change is coming, but whether adults were brave enough to prepare for it. There's a temptation, especially in moments like this, to search for one sweeping solution, one bold speech, one technological breakthrough that lets us keep living exactly as we are. But history doesn't work that way. The arc of human progress bends not because of a single grand gesture, but because ordinary people decide again and again to take responsibility for something larger than themselves. And that responsibility, when it comes to the climate, asks us to confront a hard truth that building a better future doesn't begin with perfection, it begins with participation. I've seen how easy it is to turn this issue into something distant, something theoretical, something for scientists or politicians or future generations to worry about. But climate change isn't waiting for us to feel ready. It's already reshaping coastlines, stretching food systems, testing democracies, and exposing the fault lines between those who can adapt and those who are left behind. And when that happens, when pressure mounts and resources thin, it's not just ecosystems that suffer. Trust suffers. Unity suffers. The basic idea that we're in this together starts to fray. What strikes me sitting with this is how deeply moral this moment really is. Because at its core, this isn't just a question of carbon levels or temperature targets. It's a question of stewardship, of whether power comes with responsibility, of whether progress without restraint is really progress at all. Every generation inherits a world shaped by the choices of the one before it. The only real question is what kind of inheritance we choose to leave. And here's where I want to slow down for a moment, because this is where the conversation often gets uncomfortable. Real change asks something of us. It asks us to reconsider habits that once felt harmless. It asks leaders to make decisions that won't always poll well. It asks societies to look beyond quarterly profits and election cycles and ask what kind of stability actually lasts. That's not easy. It never has been. But discomfort has always been the price of meaningful progress. I've been in rooms where the stakes were high and the margins were thin, where compromise felt necessary, but conscience demanded more. And I can tell you this, the hardest decisions are rarely about choosing between right and wrong. They're about choosing between what's easy now and what's necessary later. Climate action lives squarely in that tension. So I'll ask you this, and I want you to sit with it, maybe even share your thoughts in the comments if it resonates when future generations look back on this moment. Will they see a society that knew the risks and chose delay, or one that understood that lasting change is built one step at a time? And if the answer depends on the choices we make today, what are we waiting for?